The student meets the master. That's the title of our new story from the We Are Chess Championship in 2024. We have here the epic clash between Prague and Vishy from the quarterfinal stage of this amazing chess event. Viswanathan was, of course, such an important role model for all of the kids that are coming out from India, for Gukesh, Arjun, Prague, Vidit. So he was, I think, a big person in their life. So I think this game between Prague and Vishy is not only a great game, I think it's also a beautiful historical moment in the chess community for sure. So the tempo of this games from the We Are Chess Championship is a little bit different. The players are playing two classical games with a tempo of 1 hour on the clock without any increment per move, which is, I think, really dynamic format. It's basically my favorite my favorite tempo. I love to play always this 1 hour games without any increment. I basically hate increment in chess. I think increment has a little bit destroyed chess. That's just my opinion. Will not dive deeper into it. I really loved sometimes the fact that you have to play on time, sometimes that the time factor is really important one. And the first two games that they played, Vishy and Prague, here ended with a draw, which means that they had to play an additional Armageddon game in which you bid your time, and the lowest time that's bidded will be then the time for black, and Vishy bidded a time of 6 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock. So the Vishy started with the black pieces with that time on his clock, and Praggnanandhaa had to start the game with 10 minutes on the clock. But of course white needs to win the game. If the game ends with a draw, then of course black was simply the winner of the Armageddon game. So let's see now what happened. The historical game between Prague and Vishy with the white pieces. Praggnanandhaa opened with the move e4. And you see now here Prague is starting with 10 minutes on the clock, and Vishy started with 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Now he has now 6 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock after the first move. After move e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now a huge decision already here by Prague. Prague goes into the Scotch game. We haven't really seen a Scotch game in top GM level now for a while. After move d4, I think Prague is trying to spice up the game immediately, which is, I think, a great choice because you don't want to play this, I don't know, positional struggles, positional battles like the Rui Lopez Italian game. You need to win to have to open out the game. D4, a perfect choice here by Prague. E takes d4, knight to d4, and now queen to f6. And now you see there are many choices. You can play knight to b5, which is a very aggressive line. c3 more positionally, building a nice firm structure around the square d4. Bishop to e3 does the same. You're keeping the progress around the square d4. Knight to f3 is also perfectly fine, but Prague played a very interesting sideline, a rare sideline, I would say, with knight to e2. Here Prague is saying, I'll try now to complicate as much as I can. I will try to maybe get Vishy out of this prep in the Scotch opening. We have now the move bishop to c5, hitting now the pawn on f2, knight to f4, and now many choices are again here by black. g5 in the beginning seems tempting, seems maybe logical that you maybe hit the pawn on f2. You're trying to get this knight out of this f5, but with knight to d3, white can solve all the tactical problems. Will also hit this bishop, will get an extra tempo, so it's not a good choice here by black. After knight to f4, we have now the move d6, and now Prague goes with knight to c3. We have knight from g to e7, bishop to e2, and now comes, I would say, already the first critical moment of the game here. Viswanathan doesn't react correctly immediately. In move 8, Vishy makes already a tiny little inaccuracy with the move bishop to b4, which is not a good plan here for black. A better choice was first of all to play castling, and then a6 to keep your bishop, your dark square bishop, still in the game. Then you can retreat to a7, and then you play normally. Bishop to d7, knight to g6. You have a perfect activity. The queen is active already. I would say a pretty equalish game with also great chances to win the game here by black. But here Vishy went into, I think, a bad plan with bishop to b4. He is attacking now the knight on c3 twice, but it's simply not working because here Prague played a calm kingside castling. He doesn't want to even protect the knight with bishop to d2. He's saying, show me what you got. What are you trying to do? Because even if you try bishop to c3 that Vishy played, and after b takes c3, there's no way that black is going to pick up now this pawn on c3, because then you're running into dirty attack here. Vishy didn't dare now to play the move queen to c3, but I wanted to show what would have happened if Vishy would have taken the pawn on c3. Look at this. We play rook to b1. You're trying to castle bishop to b2. You have to step back, and now you play knight to h5, hitting this one. f6 has to be played. You weaken further the structure in front of your own king. Now bishop to a1. That's now the plan in this attack, because you're trying to do something like this. Look at this, rook to b3, rook to g3. You shift the rook over to the g file with the support of the knight, with the support of the bishop pair. The queen could be included into the game. So too many attackers here against Black's king. So really devastating position it would have been for sure. So after b takes c3, that's why Vishy says, okay, at least I provoked some weaknesses here. I'll not allow your bishop to get into the game. So that's why Vishy tried kingside castling. We have now rook to b1. Pragg continues with his own plan that we have talked about, maybe even c4, rook to b3, and then rook to g3, getting this bishop into the game. So Pragg is continuing with his normal ideas that we have talked about already. We have now queen to e5 by Vishy, and now here bishop to d3. This is a great move by Pragg. First of all, what he's trying to do here is protect his pawn on e4, but that's not really the point about this move. The point is that we have now here, from White's perspective, a 4 versus 3 pawn majority attack possibility. You want to get your knight out of the f-file, and then you want to play f4, maybe even, if possible, g4, h4, and with the support of the bishop pair, White would have enormous pressure, would have a beautiful game here on the king side for sure. Vishy tries a6. We have now the move c4. Pragg is controlling the d4 square, and wants, of course, to get now finally also the bishop into the game. We have now f5. Vishy is trying to open a position, maybe a slightly risky choice, maybe better queen to a5, getting out of this potential f4 mess that we have talked about. But okay, with f5, you're opening the position, and the player that has the bishop pair on the board loves, of course, to open the position. So bad again move, I would say, here by Vishy. Pragg punishes that immediately with e takes f5. And there's not even a good move anymore for Black here, because whatever you do, I think White would keep simply the attacking flow. For instance, you try knight to f5. If you try to pick up now this pawn with the knight, then knight to d5 is going to happen. You have lost now the battle for this square. Now the pawn on c7 is hanging, and if you want to keep it, then look at this, rook to e1. Many attackers here. You lose the battle again on the back rank, so game over, I would say, here for Black. Even if you try to pick up the pawn with your bishop, then look at this, rook to e1 again, attacks the queen, then bishop to e3, puts more pressure against the queen, and then rook takes b7, wins a pawn. Maybe even this was the best way here for Black to proceed, just admitting, okay, I'll lose one pawn, but at least I can trade off those bishops. At least White is not continuing the game with the bishop pair anymore, so maybe this was good maybe solution for Black, but still much better position now again for White. After e takes f5, Vishy tried queen to f6. It didn't take out now the pawn immediately, and now it's even a worse continuation, because now there are so many good moves here for White. You can play bishop to b2 immediately, knight to h5, g4 is a possibility. Here Pragg went into this line, g4. We have now g6, and now a beautiful move again here by Pragg, knight to d5, which is again maybe not the optimal choice here, but Pragg is trying to get rid of all of these defenders that are of course in front of Black's king. Maybe again a better choice is bishop to b2 immediately, but it's a little bit more complicated to calculate everything. Pragg didn't want to risk anything, but I wanted to show you again this interesting line with the potential rook lift. The rook lift idea here we have seen also with this potential rook to b3, rook to g3 idea. The rook lift idea here is the main attacking theme for White against Black's king. You sacrifice even your pawns, opening up the g file, and now with the support of the dark square bishop, you would have again beautiful attack for sure. So here after knight to d5 that Pragg played instead of bishop to b2, here we have knight takes d5, c takes d5, knight to e5, but now f4. Great move here again by Pragg, using now this 4 versus 2 pawn majority on the king side. Vishy is trying now knight takes d3, queen to d3, but it's not working. These are maybe opposite colored bishops, which are usually a drawish endgame, but with the dark square problems and with still the queens on the board, it's simply a different story. There's not an easy way anymore for Black to defend the dark square, so it's again completely winning position, I would say, here for white. Vishy is trying to battle with g takes f5. Pragg continues with g5, queen to g6, and now finally bishop to b2, preparing this beautiful queen and bishop battery on darkwood. Bishop to d7. Now comes this idea. Queen to c3, hitting also the pawn on c7. What should you do? Here Vishy tried to defend his pawn with c5, which is maybe in the worst continuation. If you try even h6, which is now the suggested move by the top end, it's not even working here. Every move is bad here now finally for black. Then look at this again, this rook lift idea. You allow this one, rook to h3, and again a game over, I would say, here for black. So here for queen to c3, Vishy tried c5. Pragg continues with the rook lift idea. Great move. He doesn't want to complicate things on this side of the board. He activates now the pieces and has now a perfect attacking formation. h5 here by Vishy, rook to h3, king to f7, and now Pragg played a stunning rook takes h5. This is the way they go. Great move by Pragg. He's now getting the queen deflected from the square on g7. For instance, if you try queen to h5, Vishy didn't play it, then you get checkmated immediately with rook to e1. You can just prolong the game by placing the bishop in between, but after a couple more moves, the game is over here. So that's why after rook to h5, we have rook to g8. Vishy is trying now to cover somehow the g7 square, but now calm move by Pragg with king to f2, and in this particular position, Vishy Anand resigned. So you can even try here immediately rook to h7, which is again very interesting. Black cannot cover, of course, with the rook, but again the queen gets deflected, and then queen to f6, king to e8, and then rook to e1 is again simply winning the game. Bishop to e6, and we run into a similar tactic that we have discussed before. So great attack here by Pragg. Great, amazing Scotch game with a surprise knight to e2 sideline. Interesting stuff. This was now the epic battle between the student and the master, and Pragg won now this match and is moving now into the semifinals of the We Are Chess Masters in 2024. So incredible moment here that we had. Really beautiful game. Vishy is of course a great player, but I think now in this faster time formats, it's simply not working for him. If they would have played a classical game, I'm not saying that Pragg would win the game immediately. Still, Vishy's got it, but this was simply too fast for him to maybe face these young sharks that are now coming from India. But very interesting game. If you want to see some other beautiful chess content here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our commented chess games. Here's the link of the playlist. And if you want to see even more aggressive games, check out our commented chess games played by computers, where we analyze some beautiful Stockfish, Alpha Zero, Lila Zero chess games. And if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.